not going to be driving for you guys?
And that's a question you're gonna have to take up with him.
Yeah, no, that's interesting.
Yeah,
Okay, so obviously you guys have this truck, and now you have to find a driver. So you're saying you're reaching out to Facebook, different Facebook groups, and I'm assuming at some point you find at least a driver. I would imagine your first driver for this truck.
yep. Shout out to Mr. Pittman. Actually, his name Johnny Pittman. He from Muskegon. But
Okay,
yep, our mother had put us in contact with him, and I think the thing is too is these people here. A lot of people always talking about what they're gonna do and different
yeah,
stuff like that, and it's different from actually seeing people doing it. And
yeah,
so
for
when we
sure.
originally had reached out to him, he kind of like blew us off a little bit.
Like y'all
But
not about to do this. Y'all
yeah,
just
like
talking.
y'all not serious. And then so next time when we call him, like, look, we got this truck, we got this authority, we need to find a driver, this, that, whatever. So he kind of like took us under his wing and he kind of mentored us and helped us out. And he found a driver for us, our first driver, Mr. West. And it was just like a learning curve from that. Like I had never learned how to do, I didn't know how to dispatch a truck. I didn't know nothing about hours of service. I didn't know nothing about none of it.
Right. So then,
I,
how is it? So I'm assuming that Mr. Pittman, he's already driving a truck. He already has
yeah.
his truck, and he has his own thing going on. But he's assuming essentially doing a role that I guess your brother was supposed to be doing, as far as kind of help you guys uh, get the lay of the land. And so now at that point, how is it working? Because I would imagine like you said, you're not driving these trucks. You have I'm assuming typically men would drive these trucks. So how is it kind of communicating with the men? Or are you like older or younger than like how like what's because I
No.
would imagine, I guess from my own perspective, if you have like this older, like I guess what I think of these big truck drivers, and then you have maybe a younger woman or a female, they can kind of maybe blow you off or not take you as serious. Was it that type of dynamic, or and if so, how were you able to navigate that?
So with me, I've always been fortunate enough to be I'm respectful.
Okay.
And so because Mr. West was like 70 or something years old. He was older.
Older.
And
Wow.
so I call him Mr. West. He always told us, you ain't got to call me Mr. West.
Right. Right.
But
Right.
I just and the same thing with Mr. Pittman. They was always like, you don't have to call me Mr. Pittman, but it was just like that level of respect.
Right.
And with that, I never found it difficult. And I actually one of the things that our company that I prided myself on was that we always had more drivers than we had trucks.
Oh, really?
Always had people that were looking to come work for us, a way
Wow.
for a position to open up for to come work with us because of how we treated our drivers,
Wow.
and just how we ran our company. And that was one of the things that we was blessed with because I always had people who had sitting trucks. Somebody always had trucks sitting because they couldn't find a driver.
Right.
And we never had that. But it was due to the humility that me and my sister both have, our professionalism. And at the end of the day, these are people that's risking their lives to
Yeah,
help
for
support
sure.
your dream. So you
Sure.
definitely have to have a level of respect and humility towards them.
Okay. No, that makes sense. So then seems like with Mr. West driving a truck, this at least this is going decent enough to the point where you're like, okay, it's time to get another truck. So was it based off of, okay, you guys thought that you guys can handle a different truck just based on how business was going, or was it like, hey man, we're not making no money, we dang near need to get, because I know we were talking offline, and you were saying you need at least what I think 3 trucks to be able to start making real money.
Mhm.
So was the the thought of getting additional trucks based off of the money aspect of it, or was it just business was just going so good?
It was a little bit of both because we
Okay.
had actually landed a setup to where we were supplying drivers and we didn't even have to use trucks. So they were basically paying us to contract drivers out. So it allowed us to accumulate money faster.
Okay. What do you mean
And
when you
then
say
so
contracting drivers out?
so just to put it in context, we started the company in November 2019.
Okay,
That was right before the pandemic hit.
for sure.
So once the pandemic hit and we're full in the pandemic, of course, nothing's moving but freight.
Right.
And so it was a demand for, highest bidder will move your stuff for you, highest price. And so it was companies that was faced with they needed their freight moved, or they had a driver, but they needed a second driver to, complete their
Oh,
loads.
got you.
And so we were kind of like contracting drivers out in using their equipment to get their loads moved. And one of the places they delivered to like Burger King and Golden Corral and different stuff like that. And they had a high driver turnover rate. And so what we did was basically increased our drivers' pay and made it beneficial for them to take these loads
Yep.
and positioned it like that. And so it allowed us to create our, build our revenue up faster. And then with that, we realized like, okay, once this is done, we're going to need more trucks we're going to need trucks because our drivers aren't going to have any trucks to jump into.
Right. So were
And
these
so
the drivers that you guys were contracting out? Are these your drivers, or are you guys just finding them and saying, okay, hey, such and such has a load that they need moved, that essentially working as a middleman to put them with other people who needed their loads moved?
no, these were our drivers.
Okay, got
So
you,
so we ended up hiring on more drivers
got you.
so that we can, cover these lanes for this company.
Yeah,
Um and then we had a truck that was leased on to us. It was basically someone who had gotten to a bad business deal prior,
got you,
and the company had took all their money, and so they were paying all of this stuff. So it was like a good faith effort for them to like, okay, I'll take your truck underneath our company. We'll run it for you, until you get, you know, right side up, and then you start your own company.
got you,
So we helped them out. But the other ones, they were pretty much our drivers that we were contracting out.
got you. Okay. And
Yeah.
that helped you, like you said, build the revenue faster.
Yeah. And then so we went out and we got a second truck